Let's look at another type of problem. This is a problem involving coins. We have a coin collection consisting of nickels, dimes, and quarters, and together all that money is worth $2.45. There are 5 more dimes than nickels. There are twice as many quarters as nickels. How many of each type of coin are there? So what we've got going on in this question is kind of 2 different things about the coins. For example, if you take the nickels, we have the number of nickels, and we also have the value of the nickels. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up a let statement using a chart in 3 parts, and I'm going to look at the nickels, dimes, and quarters separately to begin with. Alright, so remember, step 1 is to define your variables. What we're trying to find is how many of each type of coin there are. So my x should be I should start with an x in the number of coins column. And if I read my statement, I'm going to read my second sentence. It says there's 5 more dimes than nickels. So we're comparing the dimes to the nickels. So if we make the nickels, the number of nickels x, that means the dime is 5 more than that. That would be x plus 5. Okay? And then it says there are twice as many quarters as nickels. So now we're comparing quarters to nickels. If the nickels was x, the quarters is double that, so that would be twice x. All right? Now, what we're going to need to do as well is convert the number of coins over to the value that they have. For example, if I take a nickel, 1 nickel is 5 times 1, 5 cents. 2 nickels is 5 times 2, 10 cents. That's its value. All right? So if I have x nickels, it's going to be 5 times x, 5 cents per nickel, times the number of nickels. The value will be 5 times the number of them. Okay? In other words, to convert from number of coins to value, I have to multiply my number by the value of the coin I'm talking about. So for dimes, if I have this many dimes, and they're 10 cents each, I need to go x plus 5 times 10. And for quarters, it's 25 cents per quarter times the number of quarters, which is 2x, which is 50x. Okay? So I'm now getting into a much more complicated defining a variable step. Alright, the next step in the process is to make an equation using the piece of information I haven't yet used. And that piece of information is that together we have $2.45 in coins. In other words, our value altogether, all of this, is $2.45. So if I take the value of the nickels, 5x, and I add the value of the dimes, and I add the value of the quarters, I'm going to get $2.45, but I'm going to write 245 here as 245 cents. And I'm doing that because my 5 is in cents, and so I want this number to be in cents as well. All right, let's solve the equation and see if it all works out. 5x, distribution, $65x when I simplify, minus 50 on both sides, and if I divide both sides by 65, I get x equals 3. Let's go back to my let statement and see if this makes sense. Let's put 3 in for our number of coins. So what we're saying is that we would have 3 nickels, 3 plus 5, 8 dimes, and 2 times 3, 6 quarters. And let's see if this makes sense. Let's see if we have the right amount of money. 3 nickels would be 15 cents. 8 dimes would be 80 cents. I'm just thinking about what that means to have 8 dimes, 80 cents. 6 quarters, that would be 150 cents. And $1.50 plus 80 plus 15, you can confirm that that's $2.45. So the problem works out. because it makes sense when I substitute back. And finally, to answer the question, how many of each type of coin do we have? Therefore, we have 3 nickels, 8 dimes, and 6 quarters. And one more type of problem involving a cruise ship and a private boat. A cruise ship left Halifax for Bermuda at 5 p.m. traveling at 20 kilometers an hour. A private boat left Bermuda 1 hour later traveling at 25 kilometers per hour. At what time did the private boat overtake or pass the cruise ship? All right. This problem has to do with the idea that speed multiplied by time, and you've probably experienced this in science, this formula, is equal to distance. Let me just give you a nice simple example. If you're traveling at 100 kilometers per hour in a vehicle and you're traveling for 2 hours, it makes sense that 100 kilometers every hour times 2 hours means that you've traveled a total of 200 kilometers in total. So the essence of this problem is this formula. Speed multiplied by time is equal to distance. All right, now this seems like this could be complicated because we have 3 different things happening. It's kind of like the last problem with the coins and the value. There was 2 different things happening, the value and the number of coins. Now we have 3 different types of things happening, and that's often a good time to set things up in a chart to sort them out. Let's put our speed, which we can see from the problem is in kilometers per hour there. Let's put our time, which is in hours. This is the amount of time. And the distance traveled here, which we know is in kilometers. And as we said, we know that this multiplied by this is going to equal that. All right, so let's look at our 2 situations. We have 2 situations. We have a cruise ship that's moving, and we have a private boat. All right, and let's just take stock of what we know. We know that the cruise ship left at 5 o'clock and it was traveling at 20 kilometers an hour. All right, so the cruise ship's speed we know. Let's put that in. That's 20. We don't know how long it's been traveling for. So let's put x is the time that it's been traveling. And that would mean that our distance would have to be 20 times x because of the formula 20x. That's the distance the cruise ship just traveled. With the private boat, what do we know about it? We know it's traveling at 25 kilometers per hour. It's traveling faster, although it started later. So the time it's been traveling for will be 1 hour less than the cruise ship. So that's going to be x minus 1. And then speed multiplied by time will mean that the distance as a formula, as an expression, will be that, 25 times x minus 1. All right. Now, the question is, how are we going to figure out when the private boat overtakes or passes the cruise ship? The cruise ship is going slower. The private boat is starting later. When are they going to pass? The key to this is that they will pass or meet when each of them has traveled the same distance. So we don't know how long each is going to travel for, but we know that they will meet when the distance traveled by the cruise ship is equal to the distance traveled by the private boat. And that's my equation. 20 times x is equal to 25 times x minus 1. Okay, let's solve the equation and then see if we can make sense of the problem. 20x is equal to 25x minus 25. And so we're getting x equals 5. And if we now substitute back into the let statement, we're saying that we think the cruise ship has been traveling for 5 hours. The private boat 1 hour less, 5 minus 1, 4 hours. Does that mean they will have caught up to each other? The cruise ship's going 20 kilometers an hour for 5 hours. It means it's gone a total of 100 kilometers. And if the private boat's gone 25 kilometers an hour for 4 hours, we multiply that, that's also 100 kilometers. So the two vessels have caught up with one another. Alright, so to answer the question, which was to say, at what time did the private boat overtake the cruise ship? That happened 5 hours after the cruise ship left. So if the cruise ship left at 5 p.m., 5 hours later will be at 10 p.m. the private boat passes the cruise ship.